Hi there. DPR the man, that's who I am, and this is Here's the Thing. Haven't done Here's the Thing in a long time. I did a preview on Facebook and had to make a few adjustments, let's say, in the lighting and the camera so that the graphics behind me wouldn't be backwards and I didn't look like I was taping this from a solar eclipse on one side of my face. That being said, I changed the graphics at the beginning of the show. I composed my own theme music so that Facebook won't take it down and YouTube won't cite me for copyright violations. So all that being fixed, we move on. As I said on Facebook, I would address the issue of who belongs in the Institute for the Utterly Stupid. I've done Institute for the Utterly Stupids before. In fact, Barack Obama was one of the members at one time, along with a number of Democratic Congress people. John Kerry, Oprah Winfrey, if I recall correctly. There are a number of people who've made it. And one might think that at this point in time, after all said and done, I could pick from any number of people that I could put in it. But the one that stands out the most right now is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The conservative media, not the conservative media so much, but the conservatives and Republicans on Facebook are, touting her as being really stupid, really ignorant. And that's dangerous. It's dangerous to think that she's ignorant. It's dangerous to think that she's stupid. She's too young to run for president. At this point in time, that's a good thing. That being said, though, let's talk about why Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is not stupid. Okay, what basically has the Democratic Party done in the last several years? Actually, they've been doing it now for about 50 years. They play the long game. They play the long game all the time. They're going communist. That's basically what it is. The Democratic Socialists are nothing more than a dressed-up version of the American Communist Party. Communism never went away, even though the Soviet Union went away, even though Cuba's in ruins. China's communist, but they learned how to mix enough capitalism in to keep it afloat, if you will, and become the second largest economy in the world. They learned from the Soviet Union's mistakes. Nikita Khrushchev once said, "We will bury you." It was back in the 60s, before a lot of the young heads full of mush that are trying to run the country now were born. Basically, it was said by the communist regimes that communism would never be accepted in totality in this country. It had to be introduced in small pieces. Now, all this is introductory material to what's happening now. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is the symbol of creeping communism. Now, Bernie Sanders started it all. But Bernie Sanders is like 200 years old. He unfortunately won't be around much longer. And I say unfortunately because I never wish ill on anyone, no matter how much I may disagree with them. But he's old. He's not going to serve as the face of the party down the road. But he introduced free everything when he campaigned to become a presidential candidate. Now, personally, I think the Democratic Party, the old guard of the Democratic Party, is a bit afraid of the Cortezes, the Sanderses, and the Beto O'Rourke's. Beto. We'll get to him in a minute. But they are not unaware of the fact that their future base is falling for all of this claptrap about free everything. Free everything. We'll just pay for it. We'll just print more money and pay for it. Yeah, we already have an $8 trillion deficit and a 20 to 21 trillion dollar national debt. But you cannot tell people now, and I picked this up from another pundit, you cannot tell people now that we can't pay for free health care, and we can't pay for free college education, and we can't pay for guaranteed incomes. You can't tell people that. They have no concept of just how much money is involved in all of this. It's way beyond most people's imagination. They can't do it. They can't figure it out. There's a reason for that. This is all disguised. We'll just pay for it. Yeah, we'll stop. Oh, and the Green New Deal. We'll just pay for it. Yeah, the world's going to come to an end in 12 years. And the Green New Deal is going to have us on solar and wind power in totality in 12 years. Even though it's been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that neither of those sources is capable of producing enough energy to run this country. So what they're basically telling you is, we'll go back to somewhere in the early part of the 20th century in terms of our use of energy. And we'll run our cars on solar and wind. Electric cars need coal-generated electricity to charge. You can't produce enough of it with solar and wind. It just isn't going to happen. The Chinese already know that because they've tried wind farms and some of them have failed. But that's another subject. That's Cortez business right now. What we have to be careful of is that we minimize. We don't want to minimize. We don't want to minimize the Cortezes of the world. We don't want to minimize the Beto O'Rourke's of the world. We don't want to minimize the Bernie Sanderses of the world. Don't minimize them. They're not stupid. This is a calculated rhetoric, a calculated agenda, a calculated narrative to make you think that somehow our government is going to be capable of providing universal health care, universal income, universal energy, okay, universal education. It's already been proven that the government cannot handle education properly. They can't fund public education K through 12, let alone college. And everything comes with strings. If the government controls it, if the government funds it, the government runs it. Bureaucrats run it. Bureaucrats who know nothing about whatever it is they're controlling and know everything about how to determine who gets money and who doesn't. You see where that leads? Do you see where that goes? The government runs our lives? Well, isn't that, what do we call that? What is that? That's communism. Communism. There's no difference between communism and fascism. There is no difference between socialism and communism and fascism. They're all the same. The National Socialist Party, the Nazis, Socialist Workers' Party, whatever you want to call it. The Democratic Socialists, they all lead to the same thing. Communism. Communism doesn't work. You cannot take away people's desire to succeed and their desire to produce by handing it to them, paying for it, and telling them to sit tight and take whatever they get. It won't work. It can't work. It hasn't worked. Every country outside of China, every country that's done the socialist move, the socialist dictatorship, the communist dictatorship, has failed. And if they haven't failed yet, they will. Venezuela is a prime example. France, where they're instituting many of the things in a small way that the Cortezes and the O'Rourkes and the Sanderses are pushing in this country. And what's happening over there? They haven't even totally instituted it yet, and people are already pissed off. And it's going to get worse. The German government was in trouble. The English government's in trouble. Why? Because of creeping communism, creeping totalitarianism, creeping government control over more and more of the economy, ergo more and more of people's lives. What's going to happen to healthcare in this country if the government controls it? Well, ask Canada, ask England. Doctors will stop being doctors. You'll have a hard time getting anyone to be a doctor because there's no profit in it. Oh, but they're going to have free education, so they won't come out of college thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in debt, so they don't have to care if they make any money once they get out. What's the purpose of going to college in the first place? It's to get a job where you make good money, and you can buy a house, and you can buy a car, and the old American dream. Well, what happened to the American dream? Now the American dream is to get everything for free? That's the danger. That's why you cannot minimize Cortez and O'Rourke and Sanders and the other communist members of the Democratic Socialist Party. Okay, we have a two-party system. But it's not Republicans and Democrats anymore. It's Republicans and Socialists. And I think the Democrats are running scared. The old guard. They have to keep those people happy in order to win elections. But yet, they know that we're not ready for that yet. They haven't totally indoctrinated. They're playing the long game. They're getting the young ones, the O'Rourkes and the Cortezes, to start the ball rolling in hopes that in 10, 20 years, they can do what they did with Obamacare and finally get it through after it failed 20 years earlier with Hillary Care. This all ties together. It all ties together. There aren't a whole lot of people out there right now making a lot of noise who actually remember what happened before and how it's repeating itself. Only this time, in some ways, it's working, and that's scary. So who belongs in the Institute for the Utterly Stupid? Anyone who thinks that Beto O'Rourke and Alexandria or Ocasio-Cortez is stupid. Are stupid, I'm sorry. They're not. They're playing the long game. They're doing exactly what they're told to do. And they're carrying it off rather well. When you got Cortez making statements like the world's going to end in 12 years, or we'll just pay for it, or in 12 years we'll be totally on solar and wind power, when you know that's not going to happen. She knows that's not going to happen. But she is getting attention. She is getting media time because the media loves the socialists. They're news. They're not normal. Normal isn't news. Everyday life isn't news. Me going to the local convenience store at the gas station and talking to the clerk that I talk to every now and then, who's a Democrat, who says he just votes and his life goes on the same. He's still got to go to work and he's still got to pay his bills and nothing really changes. It tells me something. It tells me that there aren't that many activists out there, but they're the only ones making any noise. And the media just gulps that down. They want to spit it back out. It's news. It's news when it's not normal. It's news when it's way off the beaten path. So how is Cortez going to further the agenda of the Democratic Socialists? Well, she's going to do it by making what appear to be utterly ridiculous and stupid statements. And all of the hosts that she appears with are just going to laugh and pat her on the back and tell her what a great gal she is, dressed in her really pricey outfits, made up as though it was done by a professional, which it probably is at all times. I mean, that woman looks like she's got money. I'm sorry. But first impression, okay? And Beto O'Rourke's another one. Well-groomed, well-dressed, always available, happy-lucky guy. All the socialists appear that way. All the socialists are well-heeled. All the socialists have everything they want. That's why they don't give a damn what we have or don't have. It makes no difference to them. It makes no difference to them if they tax us out of existence. It makes no difference to them if they say they're going to tax the rich, who are already paying the lion's share of the revenue that comes into the federal government. Well, let's just take it all. Let's just take it all. Let's just put all the rich money. The rich money's not going to all go to the government because the socialists have a lot of it themselves, and they're not going to give it up. Did they give up their health care when Obamacare came into existence? His name goes away. Is Al Gore giving up his limousines, his mansion, and all of the energy it uses, and the limousines and the SUVs use? Is he giving that up? He won't. He won't. And the reason he won't, and the reason none of them will, is because they are also portraying themselves as being smarter than us, more compassionate than us, better than us. They run things. They have all the right ideas. Therefore, they're entitled to the perks of running things and having all the right ideas and being more compassionate. They're entitled to those perks because they care. They care. Yeah. So, I don't know how many people out there watch the Hunger Games, but if you recall correctly, the vast majority of the population lived in abject poverty and subjugation, and were only there for the entertainment of the people who lived in the city on the hill, where they had nothing but obscene wealth and obscene pleasures and all the comforts that anyone could ever want, and all the perversions and all the debauchery. And that's where everything's going to be heading. I mean, it's a little extreme, maybe, yeah, but think about it. Think about it. While most of you go from day to day being concerned about going to work, coming home, paying your bills, being retired, trying to pay your bills, okay, while you're wondering about those things and you're dealing with those things on a daily basis, that's your life. It's what you do. Many of you, trying to be productive, trying to be advanced in your job, trying to move along, perhaps have a better life for yourself and your children. While you're doing all that, you think about the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes and the Beto O'Rourke's and the Bernie Sanderses, okay, and the Nancy Pelosi's and the Chuck Schumers, who are living in mansions with walls around them, but that's another subject, who are going on vacation to Hawaii and Puerto Rico while the government is shut down, who refuse to do anything that President Trump wants done simply because President Trump wants it done. Not because it doesn't need to be done, not because it isn't a wise move, but because it's Trump trying to do it. That's another subject. But the Institute for the Utterly Stupid has many, 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 many new members today. Nameless people, people that I don't even know, some of whom I might be vaguely acquainted with, but people who honestly believe that somehow we're going to get free healthcare and free education and wind and solar energy without the use of fossil fuels in any way, shape, or form. That those things are actually going to happen anytime in the foreseeable future with any success whatsoever. Our government is broke, bankrupt. The only reason they're not, technically, is because they can print money and we can't. I've said that many times before. When you can't pay your bills, they come after you. And you better pay them, and if you can't, you're bankrupt. Okay? When our government can't pay its bills, it prints more money. It finds a way. It finds a way. They're sinking it all into the stock market because that's the only place they can launder it at this point in time. But again, if it ever gets loose, our dollar is going to be worth about 10 cents. Hasn't happened yet, but it will, if we're not careful. Do the Democrats really think that they're going to take the White House back in 2020? They're still using the courts to stop everything that's happening. But they don't care if they get the White House back in 2020. They haven't got a viable candidate out there. I mean, we're back in the days of the Walter Mondales. Okay? They're not going to take over in 2020 in the White House. They might keep the House. They won't get the Senate. If you're all smart, we'll make sure that they don't get the House either. We'll take the House back. But all that being said, all they have to do is screw everything up for the next 5 or 6 years and hope that they can get the White House back in 2024 after they've had the chance to put all the communist ideas out there and sell the American people on the fact that it doesn't matter if we can, quote, pay for it or not. So don't be a member of the Institute for the Utterly Stupid. Don't do that. Because thinking, or I should say forgetting to ask yourself the question, if all this comes about, how are we going to pay for it? If you forget to ask that question, you are a member of the Institute for the Utterly Stupid. That being said, I got to conclude this because it's going to take a long time to load it up to YouTube. So DPR the man, that's who I am. Remember to check out the Facebook page, heresdathing.com, and the YouTube page, heresdathing.com, or email the show at hdt2010@roadrunner.com. That's hdt2010@roadrunner.com. Your comments, your ideas are my food for thought and fuel for future topics. Might be doing this a little more often than I used to. So don't forget to check us out. Have a good day. Have a good week. Have a good life. And see me the next time on Here's the Thing. Thank you!